our presenters have provided. So, all right, we are going to get started for this morning. We have Jill and Katie.
Good morning. I'm not quite sure where to stand with the two.
I know, this is weird.
I'm not used to this. I'm Jill, and I teach multi-age first and second grade. I have been doing technology and blended learning in my classroom for, this is my third year now, and so each year it gets a little bit easier and a little bit better.
I'm Catie Neuman, and I just teach second grade graded at Central Elementary in Nevada. And I've also been using technology, just adding a little bit for about 3 years. My first couple years of teaching, I just wanted to survive. And then after that, I started kind of adding in more and more technology. These are a list of all the different apps or programs that we're going to be talking about today. And then we just wanted to talk about the use of technology. When we talk about technology at our district, we have some naysayers, and I'm sure you have them at your school, that instantly, no, I don't want kids in front of an iPad, they're in front of it all day. So as we kind of reflected about it, we thought about the cell phone and how it's not going away. And so we just have to keep telling ourselves technology is not going away. It's only going to continue to grow and get better and better. So we just put this image to kind of show how it's just going to progress. And just keep going through those naysayers.
We thought, too, that we don't want to go back to these phones over here. I don't know if I could honestly do what I do now with the first cell phone I ever had. So we don't want that to be our kids either.
So we just have a little clip we're going to show that kind of talks about technology. Some of you may have seen this.
Emma. Huh? Emma. 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 Emma.
Nouveau le trèfle maxi-feuille, vraiment plus large.
So we know technology can't replace everything, but it does make our lives and our kids' lives a little bit more engaging and entertaining and easier. So we thought that was just a nice clip to get started. Our lives, like we've said, are ingrained with this, so that's kind of why we started 3 years ago with this. And now our data shows that kids are at all levels and with different types of learners and multiple interests. So we thought technology helped encompass all of this in order to help engage our kids at the levels they need to be engaged with.
To continue our why, as a teacher, we don't have time to meet every kid's needs, I think, without technology. You would be a superhero teacher. Technology provides a lot of resources for us. There are times that I can be working with one group of kids one-on-one, and other kids could be working independently on an app that we'll show you. And then just superpowers, meeting all the kids' needs is very hard to do, as all of you know.
In our district, we have started doing self-paced math, and it has been something that has changed my math teaching. In a different district I was in, we also did self-paced reading, and again, helped differentiate for those kids that either needed to go a little faster or needed some extra help. So they continue when they're ready. We can use multiple delivery methods, and easily they can find previous lessons, and if they're absent, I don't have to take the time to reteach them something. If they missed it, they can get online and do it themselves. So for self-paced, I have used a few different things. Right now, my district uses Canvas. It's a district purchase. But the two other ones I've used in the past are Nearpod and BlendSpace, and I'm going to show you what those look like. So this is BlendSpace, and I did a poetry unit with my kids, and I added whatever I wanted to into this BlendSpace from YouTube, from resources I had, pictures, and then the kids have their own link, and they get on and start at their own pace. So we did mini lessons during group, and this was something that could go back to continue. Nearpod is very similar. You can either do this as a whole group and move on, and you can see what the kids are doing, or you can have a student pace as well, so they can go through it at their own pace. These have both been great, along with Canvas, depending on what your district offers.
And Nearpod will send you reports. Like when you finish one, it'll send you all the reports made, and you can see what kids answered what questions right, who answered what. So right away you're able to see like, oh, question 5, this whole class really struggled with. I need to do another lesson on. So that's kind of a nice perk about it.
With all 3 platforms, you can insert videos, pictures, and content, put items in order that makes sense to your students, and then students can have their own accounts, so that way they can do drawings, quizzes, anything that you guys can dream of, you can add it in here, which has been awesome. We have had kids go through them, and then we go back and revamp, because it's never perfect on the first try.
No.
And this is one of my students and what he thinks about self-paced.
I like self-paced math because you can learn at your own pace and you get what you need and you can learn by yourself.
He's super quiet, one of my kids, but he likes it. He is one of my advanced kids, and so he goes through lessons quicker and then can move on to content that either is advanced for him or something more of a challenge. He loves it because he just gets to go and doesn't have to wait for anybody else.
I feel like with self-paced, we kind of take that glass ceiling away from the kids, whereas a lot of times we're worried about those kids that maybe aren't learning as quickly as the others, and we kind of forget about the ones that are high and need challenged, whereas this takes away that glass ceiling for them and lets them go. So if they get it done in a week, then you can move them on to the next one, and they can go work independently, and they just check in with you. So we both have areas in our room where when they need to see the teacher, they might move their magnet that says see the teacher, or working, or need a partner. So it's a lot of organization up front, but it's really helpful. When talking with parents at conferences, all of my parents were very excited that I was going to push their kid further and not just have them sit there and be bored. It kind of takes away behaviors as well for us.
And the other end with our low kids, I can give them material at their level too, and so they're not pushed to something that they don't understand yet. They get their skills that they missed before, and then they can move on to what I expect them to get done this year.
So some organizing things that we use in our classroom are reading and math menus. We use different ones. So the top one is the one Jill uses in her classroom, and the bottom one is the one I use. This is just a lot of choice for kids. Before, I would tell kids what station they were going to go to for Daily 5 and at math centers. Okay, pandas are going here, first station. And I saw a lot more behaviors than when I've given them the choice, because now they're more on task because they've chosen to do it rather than me telling them, you have to go read to self. So more engagement, less behavior issues. I don't have the excuse of, well, I don't know what to do. Well, they're not going to choose it if they don't know what to do. So I just have some examples. This one is a little bit bigger. This is my math menu. So I print them on different colors depending on what color their group is, because I have group colors. And then they can choose from any of these programs. They have to do it at least twice a week. And so then what they do is just use a marker, so I know they can't erase it. And if it's Monday, they would write a big M after the station. And if it's Tuesday, they write a T, and so on. So I just give them these choices for our math centers. We do 2 a day. All of them have some type of technology except for math center. And then I also do the same thing for reading with my Daily 5 centers. So they can do word work, which will show you that app, or they also have worksheets, read to partner, listening, read to self, and writing. Do you want to show yours?
Yeah, go ahead. My menu is just a little bit different. I give them their whole week's worth of activities at one time. The gray ones are what I call must-dos in my classroom, so they have to get those done during the week. And the white ones are things that they can do if they get their must-dos finished. That's probably my biggest struggle, is getting kids to do their must-dos first, because they always want to read to someone, and I don't always let them. So we go through everything on a Monday, so they know their expectations for the week, and then they cross them off when they're done. So if they get their vocabulary packet done within 10 minutes, they're not sitting at that station for another 10 minutes before they can move on, causing problems and distractions. So.
Do you want to show the other one? Or
No, it's okay.
Okay. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. We'll try.
I'm going to tell you about our reading menus. I like our reading menus because we can do whatever we want on them. And they help us focus because we can pick whatever we want. And it helps us because if our teacher said that we have to read to self, I might not want to read to self.
So her biggest takeaway was that there was a time that she didn't want to do read to self, and that was her center. So she didn't get a lot out of it. So now she gets to choose, and she likes that because she's more engaged. Seesaw, you'll hear a lot more of this with Vanessa and Allison, but this is a platform that we can use, and it's an online portfolio. It's all depending on how you want it. Mine is all student directed, and then parents can be connected to that. They can upload pictures, their voice, drawings. So I use it as a accountability tool during my menus. They upload things, and I don't have to approve them, but I can if I want to. And then parents can actually give feedback. So my kids love seeing comments back from their parents on their work they did. So, but Vanessa and Allison will tell you a little bit more about how that works.
I use a computer program called Tinkercad. It's not an app, so that's the only downside of it, is you have to have them on some type of computer. It's 3D design and a printing app. Student-led and very interactive. So in second grade, we use it for our measurement standards, and it also incorporates a lot of the speaking and listening standards as well. So in my classroom, I give the students the idea of what furniture do we need in our classroom, and I started doing it last year. So they come up with things they think we need in our classroom. So they might want a play set, but we don't need a play set. So last year they ended up doing a bench, the blue one, and then the purple cubbies. And what they did is design them on paper and pencil with a group, and then they had to go onto Tinkercad, which shows them different shapes like this, and they can actually put the shapes together. They can rotate, flip, so they have to know the different angles. And then we actually ended up going to our high school and building them with the high school shop class. So it was a real life application, and then it's in our classroom for the rest of the year, so they're pretty proud of it. When I had Tinkercad, I just made it very simple. So I just made it Neuman Ninjas, I think, and then that was our password. So they could get on at home and work as much as they want. It's free. The kids really liked it. I had some kids right away that, can I do this at home? Yes, and you don't even have to continue to do our projects. Build your own projects. So then we're also going to do it again this year, and I think my kids are building some tables. One teacher wants a cabinet, and then a smaller bench. So they're very, very excited, and it kind of gets them in that real world. We also printed this one. We have a 3D printer, so then this can be sent to your 3D printer if your district has one, and it prints out a little thing so the kids can see, oh, the shelves weren't equal, so I need to go back and fix that. So it's a great learning tool for them.
Did you have a question, Martha?
Yeah, we have a question on Zoom. Do you use standards-based grading?
We are working towards it, yes. Everything that we put on there has to do with some kind of standard, so then we can see what the kids are doing with their activities from there. So we've thrown a lot of stuff at you already. We're going to give you about 5 minutes if you want to get on. Our presentation has links for everything. If you want to get on and kind of explore what we have already shared, it's nice to see and dig into it. And then let us know if you guys have questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you keep kids from doing the same thing every day? I mean, do they have to hit all of those different choices at some point, or?
On our reading menus and math menus.
Mhm.
So with mine, so if they did read to self already, then they cross it off and they can't go back to it until they get their whole menu finished.
Okay.
And I don't know how you.
With mine for math, they have to do everything at least twice, or they have to stay in for recess and do it during recess. And so at first it was learn the hard way, and then after 1 or 2 times, they figure it out kind of on their own. And then with reading, they have to do it 3 times at least. So it's definitely a learning thing for them, but once they, like I said, learn the hard way, and as long as I'm like on them, like, oh, you didn't make that choice. You did listening 4 times, and you only read to self once. sorry, that was your choice, and then they kind of come out of it. But it really started really hard at the beginning of the year.
Katie also mentioned that she puts like an M, so she can see like which ones they did on Monday.
And I have them turn it in at the end of every day, so then I can easily click, look, oh, they have 4 M's, they're good. Oh, they have 4, T's, and so it's really quick check. It takes me probably less than 2 minutes.
And I have a spreadsheet for mine, and I just mark off when I see that they've done something, whether it's turned in a piece of paper or put it onto Seesaw. And then on Thursday, I actually show that, and whatever they haven't done yet, they have to start staying in for recess to get it finished. And again, it's the hard way, and I haven't had many kids do that since. Yes?
We have a question about AirPod. So if you have questions on there, do the kids have to read the question, or does it read it to them?
I have never used the self-paced one. I've always just done a whole group, so I read it to them. So I'm sorry I haven't looked into the student part of it yet, but that's when I use the blend space. And then you can add audio into that. So that would be something to explore on Earpod. I'm sorry.
What devices are your students using? Laptops or iPads?
We have one-to-one iPads. We do have a computer lab that we can go and use desktop if need be, but most of it, all of it.
AirPod and the lens space, they're using iPads?
Yes,
Yep.
there are apps that you can get onto your iPad. Yep. All right, we'll give you about 5 minutes to explore. We had a couple questions about how we make our self-paced lessons. This is what Canvas looks like to our students when they get in. We do just a few different units. We don't do everything, but we do collaborate. So Katie has worked on a unit. I worked on a couple different units, and then we share. So we're not both creating something for second grade time. Why spend the time if somebody else has already done it for you? So this is just an example of what self-paced looks like for second graders for time. So this is what they look like when they get in there. And then we have a paper checklist that looks almost exactly like this so they can follow along at the same time. And I will pull one of those up here in a little bit too for you. But so they just start on number 1 and they click this. Since this is level 2, they might not have already made their clock from level 1. So we made videos and gave the directions for them. So that way I just have to give them once, and then they can watch them over and over again. And then if we keep going, we hit next. We have them take notes and taught them how to do that. And in here is the video that they'll take notes on. So then they just push play, and they can watch it as many times as they need to before they understand it. Or if they just need to use it, watch it once, that's fine too. Through some of the other things that we have on here. So we have YouTube videos. We also have, like this is a game, quarter-hour bingo. A teaching partner and I made this, so we played it, so they knew exactly what to do. And then they go off and play it with a partner. So it's not all on their screens. They do still have interaction with other kids.
We give them a packet with any worksheets they would need. So like at the beginning would be that screen that she showed you would be a checkoff sheet. So as they finish it, they can check it off on their actual paper as well. And then any worksheets, like if they need this worksheet, it would be put in here. So when they finish a worksheet, we do it backwards in the packet. So the ones they're going to use first, we put at the back. And once they finish it, then we can rip it off and they can turn it in. And then once we've checked it, they can move on. So you'll see like stop signs in ours as well. That means they need to stop, so we can check in with them to make sure, yes, they're understanding what we want them to understand. So they're not going through the whole unit and then we're going, oh, they had the hour hand and minute hand mixed up the whole time. So we do have several different stop signs throughout where we check in and check worksheets or ask them questions about what they've done so far.
And this also helps with our standard-based grading as well. This would be like our thing that we can mark and say, yep, they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
So as the kids are working,
Mhm.
are you guys walking around and
At the beginning, it's a lot of I'm free to help as I need to be. By now, most of my kids are pretty independent, so I have time to pull a couple kids that might not have gotten that quarter hour, and they're still not getting it, so I can pull them and do some small group work with them. It does free me up to do more of that instead of planning something that they may not need.
So is this in place of learning centers, or is this like also your whole group activity too?
I do number talk and a CGI problem first, and then they go into self-paced when they're done with that. So it replaces my center time with them. When they're at a stopping point, I do have games, problem-solving things that they can do while they wait for me to check in. So they're still doing some of those other things that you might see in rotations, but when they're done with their self-pace for the day.
I do it a little differently because I'm just starting self-paced this year. So I have sent kids that I know can be independent on their own and I don't have to train them to be. And they go work on the unit, and then I have like a small whole group lesson with others that I think need a lot more practice, that I think would sit and stare or be lost without me. So I do a whole group lesson with them and I send my other ones away. And then I have center time where I might pull those kids back in and say, okay, do you need me? Where are you at? And then it's usually like a 1 or 2 minute check-in and I send them off. And then I can work with those other kids again in small groups of going through the unit together. So, yeah. Yes.
There's a question here on our Zoom. It says, so, is the expectation that all students get through a certain amount by the end of the year? And then what do you do with the higher kids?
So we have level 1 and level 2. Since I'm multi-age, I expect all my first graders to get through all of level 1. I give them, like right now, our time unit will probably be about 3 to 4 weeks before they're finished, and so I expect them to do that. If they're not progressing, I will pull them and do more one-on-one to help them get through it faster. My one student is working on 3rd grade self-paced units right now, so our 3rd and 4th grade also have them, so I can push him and get 3rd grade stuff with him, so he's not working on the same things that he already knows. So I do a pre-test before each unit in order to figure out which level they can be at. So I have 2nd graders working on 1st grade skills. I have 1st graders working on 2nd grade skills. It's all dependent on what they need.
Jill's made a couple units as well for like those higher kids that maybe get right through the time, where it's more of like a problem-solving one. Or even like money, I think you made one where they go to the grocery store and you have this much money, what are you gonna buy? So they kind of have like an extended activity they can work on if they zip right through the first unit as well.
Yes.
And are you designing all these units, or do you guys follow some sort of curriculum or guide?
We do not have a math curriculum in our district, so we just use things that we know have worked in the past and then add those in. That's why it's great to collaborate, because Katie might have something that I don't, but works really well. So then we pool our resources and add them together. But I could see how it would work if you did have a curriculum that you could kind of go through your scope and sequence and plug in what you know works from there and what the supplemental things you need.
We do late start Mondays, so we have professional development like in technology every other, like once or twice a month. And so a lot of times during our technology days, we'll get together and work on making our self-paced units. Yes?
Another question from Zoom asks, do these students stay in self-paced classrooms throughout elementary?
This is our first year that we are expecting 1st and 2nd grade teachers to develop these units and actually work through it. I've just kind of piloted it in the past. Our 3rd and 4th graders have been working on it for a couple of years. This is the 3rd year. And then they move on, 5th and 6th grade have it as well. So we do have some 3rd graders working on 5th grade material in some of those classes too. Yeah.
So your higher kids that you say can be more independent, I know you said you check in with them every, like, when they get done for a couple minutes, but do you still hold them for small groups?
I do not. Just that one-on-one time. I actually see them more now than I did holding them for small groups, because they don't need me and they don't really want to spend the time with me. Okay. They are ready to go on their own. So I don't know about your...
If I see the whole group is struggling, then I might pull them for a group, but otherwise, no. Yeah, as long as they're being challenged and independent, I just let them go.
So that's where like they can, I have a sheet that says I need to meet with you, and they can put their clip up. So if they're having a hard time, they can put it up and we can talk. So it's more geared towards exactly what they need.
And I see a lot of my more independent kids helping other kids a lot. So if they see Jill's waiting to see me, they might say, oh, Jill, I can help you with that. Or I might even say, Jill, can you go help Katie with that problem? She's struggling with that. Can you help her? And they've learned that they can go help each other. So a lot of standards being met there as well with their collaboration.
Any other questions on self-paced before we move on? Yes.
Yeah, there's another one from Zoom. It asks, how do you prepare parents for this?
Slowly.
Yeah. I am a jump in and go kind of person. So I just warn my parents right off the bat that their kid is going to be independent this year and that they're going to be in charge of their learning. So I kind of give my attitude back to the kids. Let's do it. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to something that does work for them. So every parent I've talked to, they get a little nervous because of how it trickled down and how some of the older kids have used it and it being more independent by themselves. And in first and second grade, we talk about that it's collaboration, that it's not just sitting in front of their screen. So I do a lot of the legwork prior to them coming and jumping in.
I think it helps with how much the kids really do enjoy it. At first, when I just had my higher achieving kids on it, I could tell right away my lower kids were like getting a little bummed out, like, why don't I get to do that? So that's when I kind of started doing it with them, and instantly like their morales went up, they were excited, they were happy, they were more engaged. So I think it helps with parents that the kids love it so much because they're going home saying, I did this on my own, and I checked this off on my sheet today. And so that really helps parents kind of jump on board too because they see how engaged their kid is at school and how much they're enjoying math and reading. Yeah. No, you're okay.
We can definitely see how this would work for like our reading and science, but our math curriculum is spiraling. Do you have any suggestions on how we could use this in the spiraling curriculum?
That's something I'll have to think about. I'll get back to you on that. Let me process
I mean, you
through
could put them through level 1 first. They will go through it faster, or whatever grade. You could put them on a lower level and then go through all of it and then go back through it and go through the higher ones. That's one idea you could do, but yeah, that's
I'll get back to you.
I have a couple comments on that. So first of all, we actually, Jeff and I got to visit their classroom because we really, when we heard about it, we're like, wow, like this is something I really want to see in action. Like I want to see these first and second graders on Canvas, self-paced. And what was interesting is when we saw it, it was just, like the kids didn't know anything different, I don't think. And so they really, it was something that once you saw it, you're like, okay, yeah, now I get it. And so I think a lot of us have questions and like, how does this even look? And I would have to say they were very gracious to let us in their classroom, and they did say that they'd be available. I don't know if it still continues, but they were very gracious to let us in their classroom. And so I think they're very open to having visitors in their classroom. They have a really great, what do you call when the people come up and like shake your hand? What do you call it?
greeters.
Yes, but like, what is that whole program called?
Capturing kids' hearts.
Capturing Kids' Hearts is like something that they have in place throughout the whole building, so they definitely make you feel welcome, and the kids kind of take it from there, and they're like, here, this is what I'm going to show you. And they showed us how and they were able to talk us through what they were doing on their iPad, so it wasn't just them sitting and getting, it was really, they were really fully understanding their content, where what their teacher was delivering to us or to the kids, and then how they were sharing their learning. And so I think while a lot of us are like, how does this work? Like for us, for me especially, it helped for me to go and like watch it if that's a possibility for you. I know about your question about spiraling. I know that, are you using everyday math? I know there's a couple of West Des Moines teachers who have flipped their everyday math. Not flipped it, but more of the kind of flipped / self-paced that. And so I know Deb Vale has worked with a couple of those teachers, and so we could put you in contact with those teachers. But I know that they have, because there's teachers on YouTube who actually have posted those videos for all of the everyday math lessons. So we actually had a TIC about that last year, I think. So that's where that idea came from. That was not my original idea. That came from another teacher. So we are going to move on. But if you guys are you guys here in the afternoon? Yeah. Okay. They'll be here in the afternoon during the collaboration time, so we can ask them more specific questions. But I would definitely say that the best thing for me to understand the whole concept was to actually go and watch them.
All right, our next app that we have is called PebbleGo.
We missed one.
Did we? Oh yeah, you can go ahead.
Epic is a free app that you can get onto. I'm going to show you what this looks like. My kids love it because they can search for whatever interests them. I can also make collections and assign them. So we are going to be working on biographies here soon. So I'm going to get on Epic and search for people, and then they can read and listen to. Some books are read-only. The kids can only read them. They're not leveled, so you really have to make sure your kids understand good fit books. But there are also some that read to them. So the Read to Me will read the book to them. And then there's also just audiobooks. So I know that's something as an adult I listen to. So the kids, it doesn't have any pictures. They just listen to it and have to visualize. It's free. My kids love it for listening. And they, like I said, they get a search. So whatever they're interested in, they get to go. So maybe I don't have a book in my book bin about it, but they can go find it on their own. And they do have quizzes on some of the books too, so you get a report. Each kid has their own login, so that way you can tell if they're actually getting something out of it or not.
Our next one is PebbleGo, and I'll show you what it looks like. I use this one for researching, a lot for science, any animals, biographies, like she was saying, the project. You can get on PebbleGo through your AEA login. It's free to anyone here. So, example, if I wanted my class to work on animals, last year they had to choose an animal and kind of do a little report on it. If I wanted to do fish, it'll read it to you. So if I was doing sharks, I could have it read a whole book to me.
Sharks.
There's also, when you get in there, I can have it read it to me, and it has different things about it, habitat, food, life cycle, fun facts. It also gives you related articles to it. And then down here, you can print off. The activities are kind of like some graphic organizers or a worksheet maybe to see what did they learn about sharks to kind of help them with organizing their thoughts. They can print off the article if you have a kid that just needs to hold on to it. But I really like it just because I'm not giving them the web and just letting them go and then being nervous about what's going to pop up on the web. So this is kind of how I monitor them when I want them to do research in our classroom. Oh, I think I skipped one. Oh. Another one I've used a lot this year is Scratch Junior. I use this for writing, and then they can tell a story. So one of our second grade standards is that they have to write a narrative. So we worked really hard on the writing aspect, writing our narrative, producing it, and then I gave them this app. So once their story was already made, they could get on and record their story. They could do drawings. A lot of times they would have to do some problem solving if they didn't know how to do it, and it does some coding with it if you use coding in your school. Here's an example. They're not very long.
The prank. Me and Colton were planning a prank. And Briley got on the bus. We told Briley that me and Colton were brother and sister. Briley got really confused. She believed us the entire year. It ended on the last day of first grade. We told her that was our prank.
So it's really quick and easy. They don't tell their whole story. Like her narrative was much
longer. I just want to walk
longer.
you through on how you're going to do your sked sign up for Nevada PhD in the fall. So you should kind of have an idea of what you want.
Like to see Carrie. She's our technology person. They don't have them do the whole story, but just kind of a gist of it. So she got to design, like you can see on the screen, you can put whatever people, whatever background you want, and then down below here is where you do your coding and your scripting. So I had 5 kids learn it first, and then I had them each take a group in my classroom and kind of all do it together on Scratch Junior, and I'll just show you. You can click and watch it later.
Hi, I'm
there is a video that walks you through how to do it. So I showed my class this as well because it was super helpful. It's a lot of just click here, choose what character you want. They can type in the words or they can say them like my student did on hers. So it was super simple, easy, and they really loved it. It was something they would say, can we do this for writing in our writing station? Sure. So they were really engaged and they liked changing their story other than just writing it with paper and pencil.
It's great too for those descriptive words, because if it's in your Scratch Junior story, it should be in your writing as well. So it kind of helps my kids realize when there are missing pieces in their writing, to help visualize it as well. Draw and Tell is similar to Scratch Junior. It's a creativity app that they can create simple animated stories, voice, drawings, images, objects they already have in the app. There's coloring sheets for students to make a story, or they can illustrate their own. As they're telling their story, they can move around the objects to help with that visualization piece as well. There is an example I will show you quick.
I learned that the government make laws to keep us safe, and they get elected, and mayors, presidents get elected by voting. I learned that firefighters, police, teachers, and judges get paid by the government.
So it doesn't have to be just a written story, but it can be something that they learned about as well. It's great for math, to act out their math stories. If you have students that still need to use some direct modeling strategies, it's great for that as well.
Any questions on either of those? Okay. Our last one that we have for you is, we both use Spelling City in our classrooms. We use Words Their Way for our spelling curriculum at our school. And so we have imported or typed in really all of the lists for the first few books. I have my students individualized. So each kid is on a different level. So I have this poster in my room with all of their names. And then as they pass a test, they get a sticker. So at the beginning of the year, they take a spelling assessment, and that places them. And then I start them there. So they know by, if it's in red writing, they're on red book. If it's in blue writing, they're in the blue book. Yellow, I did black just because it's hard to see. And then as they pass, I put the sticker. They just come show me their iPads on Friday. Yeah, I got 80% or higher, they pass. And I put the sticker there for them. That way, each kid is working on words that they need, rather than everybody, number one, here's my word. And some kids knew those words 3 years ago, and some kids don't have a clue what that word even is because they didn't learn cat yet. So it's really been helpful. Spelling City is free, but we pay for it because we get the more expanded version. So that gives us all of these different games you can see down here. So during word work time, twice a week, I let them get on the iPad and play any game that they think is interactive to them. And then on Fridays, we take a test. And this is kind of what the test will look like. The only problem is sometimes I have mine typed on the keyboard, so sometimes that does throw a little wrench in, and I can kind of know, like, oh, you're at 79%, and I see one kid completely forgot to capitalize any of the words, and he was working on consonants, so he missed quite a few words. So he easily said, I didn't capitalize any of them, and I should have, and so I knew. So it's really nice. It also has reports made for you, so I can easily see at any point how the kid's doing. I can also go in and see the words that they missed, so I can kind of show you a little bit what it looks like. Oh, here it is. So here's the list management. So if you have Words Their Way at your school, you don't have to type in them all in. You could look my name up through Spelling City, and you can import them, and you get all of them. So you don't have to do any of the work. It's done for you. And so the kids know what list they're on. It'll give me all kinds of different reports. Just about anything you would want to know with spelling, it makes it for you. It generates it all out, and you can report it out. Each week, I can print off the spelling test for the kids and send it home. Like, I have one parent that says, I really want to know each week the words he's missing, because one kid just was not moving on. So each week, I just print off that kid's test and send it home, and it easily shows Mom, these are the 5 words that he cannot understand. So it's really helpful. And I can also assign things. So with kids that are struggling like that, I make them actually do certain things before they can play the games. So it's super helpful in that way as well.
And I do mine just a tad bit different. I have, just redid the test, so I have 6 groups right now. That way the kids can play games and stuff together, and I don't have them all over. But like right now, my groups, this is what they're working on now. So I assigned, so I can tell, like in my Jamaica group, 6 out of 6 are done. And if I click on that, it'll show me exactly what they missed. So if I'm seeing that each week they're missing the exact same words, I can pull them. On Fridays, they take their tests, but they listen to them on the computer and then write them on a piece of paper because they're in groups. So like this group has OI, OY, and then long O. So I want them to see that they can put them in their groups. So they write them, but they listen to them on their iPad. And then I check that. And if they're ready to move on, they get to move on the next week. And if not, we'll practice again.
Yeah. And that's it. Are there any questions about any of the apps or programs we've talked about?
We have about 5 minutes left if you guys want to explore some of those things that we talked about towards the end.
I do have one question on Twitter. That's a big question.
That is a big question.
Starting point that
I would say for me, like when I got started with it and I talked with our technology person, I just explored it myself. So I got on, I tried to build something. I kind of showed one student and saw like, okay, can they do this? And he went right away. And I would say he was kind of right in the middle student and he was able to grasp it right away. So then I knew like, okay, I can slowly start giving it to my whole class. The only bad part is you have to have computers. So like for us, I have to take my kids to a computer lab. And then I just let them explore. I think the first day I did it, I just said, build anything. Build something and then tell me what it is. What did you build? How did you build it? And then from there I could say, okay, now I want you to build your bench or whatever your group is doing. So I just have like my account. So I made it very general when I did. So I just like, my class is known as the Neuman Ninjas. So that was like our username. That was our password. So I just posted username and password. And then when they got on, they just named their projects. So I had like 30 projects all on my page. And so then you have to go in and name it. Otherwise, it'll name it some wonky thing. So I just had to go through and help them say like, this is Katie's, this is Jill's. And so they can just click on theirs and they can all be on at the same time. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then right now we're using it as for measurement standards to know like the length of something. And that's how we're connecting it to our standards.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Let the principal know.
Yeah.
You might end up with a lot of phone calls.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Any other
I
questions?
believe is your email on the
Yeah,
agenda.
I think so.
So their email's on the agenda if you want to contact them as well as more specific questions or for the person on Twitter. We are going to give you a few minutes. If you need